The latest numbers at the border show it is a flood, and it's a good start for a great debate. We got Cenk Uygur back on the show from the Young Turks, and we got Kayleigh McEnany. It's great to have you both. She represents the Trump campaign, of course. So let me start with you, Kayleigh. I don't want to have the tariffs or no tariffs. You and Cenk can talk about it on whatever playing field you want. Here's what I don't get. The analogy is this. The dam is breaking. The water is flooding through, and the president is saying, I'm going after that other country for not maintaining their side of the dam. Not when the water is flooding through. Help the kids. Give DHS what they need. Do big policy later. Why no emergency action?
Well, when the water is coming through, presumably you want to plug the leak, which means stopping the illegal immigrant flow across our southern border. But in terms of helping the kids, I spoke to you 3 weeks ago and pointed out that the president asked for $4.5 billion in humanitarian aid. One of the holdups of Democrats who have yet to pass that is they're concerned about funding additional beds. So those images you showed of those children sleeping on the ground, which is tragic. None of us want to see that. Go talk to the Democrats about why they don't want to fund more beds.
And you talk to the Republicans who wouldn't put it in the relief bill. There was a deal given to the Republicans in the Senate to add it to the relief bill. I'm not a big fan of attach-ons, but sometimes in an emergency, you got to accept things. The GOP may have problems with the tariffs, but they are not quick to act to help these kids. DHS has come up, CBP has come up and begged them for money. They're not giving them any emergency measures either. The president could do it with the emergency declaration. He isn't. Why?
We are the ones who put the money on the table. Democrats are not coming to the table. And Chris, if you are so concerned about these children, I do believe that you are, you want to stop them from making a journey where 70% are the victim of violence, 1/3 are the victim of assaults, and just last week we learned about a sixth.
It's your duty of care, and we are breaching it. But hold on a second. I got you on that. Let me get to Cenk. And now you. No, I'm kidding. So, look, we have this impasse here on the tariffs, and I get why people are pushing back on it in party and out party. But what I don't get, Cenk, is why Democrats aren't taking the step into the void. If the president won't help the kids, we'll help the kids. Here's money, DHS, for what you say you need to care for them.
So, first of all, the Democrats increased spending by $2.2 billion. Trump says it's not enough. He wants another 1.9. But remember, Trump's also famous for diverting funds to his projects. So there's also that to be concerned about. But they did a comprehensive bill. They increased the funding for DHS. And then on top of that, they said, hey, let's get the Dreamers and the people that are refugees some protections. Now, a lot of Republicans pretended they were for the Dreamers. They're not. They pretended they were for legal immigration. They're not. Now they say family immigration is chain migration. So they were never honest about any of it. No matter what the Democrats give them, the Republicans always say no. The Dreamers should have been dealt with a decade ago, but the Republicans say no, 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 we don't believe in those
I'll give you the Dreamers. I'll go back to Kayleigh on that. But on the money, they spent it. The $500 million that they got, $450 million, they spent it. Now, you can have DHS account for it, CBP. They should all have to count. But in an emergency situation, I would expect emergency action. The Democrats can point to the emergency declaration of the president and say, why aren't you using it? Why are you using money for them to paint a fence while these kids are in squalor? But they're not loosening any purse strings themselves. Right move?
Yeah, listen, if you're saying we're going to make sure that the money is definitely going to go to the kids, then I'm in favor of it. But Trump never does that. He puts them in cages, and he diverts money into the wall, et cetera. But, Chris, why do we have this problem in the first place? Because Trump said he was going to stop the flow of migration, and instead, what did he do? It's gone up 32% in the last month, and it's the most we've had, both legal and illegal, in 13 years. So, Kayleigh, I put it to you. Isn't Donald Trump a giant failure on his signature issue? It's, in fact, almost inarguable.
No, he's not a giant failure. And first, I want to correct your fallacy that he puts kids in cages. A lot of those pictures were from the Obama administration, so nice try doesn't work. We have a crisis on our hands. Do you acknowledge that at least, Cenk, that we have a crisis when you have 1 million people set to come in this fiscal year, more than the population of Miami and Atlanta? Do you at least acknowledge that that's a crisis?
So, Kayleigh, who's in charge? Do you know who the president is? He's the guy who said he was going to stop that.
Do you understand we have three branches of government?
One at a time. Let Cenk answer.
Okay, look, under Obama, we had less undocumented immigrants than we do under Trump. Trump said, oh, I'm going to get tough, and I'm such a tough guy, and I'm going to separate the families. I'm going to put the kids in this place and the parents and the moms in the other place. I'm so tough. And what do we have? We have more undocumented immigrants, not less. It's a 13-year record. He's a miserable failure on this issue.
So
if they voted for him thinking he was going to stop undocumented immigrants, he didn't even do that. And now we have an absolute disaster on our hands because he doesn't know how to address the core issue. Why are they coming in the first place? You just think if you punch them in the face that they're going to go away.
Right.
That's not
Kaylee,
why.
go ahead. Respond.
Cenk, we have seen a steady incline in illegal immigration, starting under the Obama administration and continuing to now. The only person who has taken any interest in stopping this in the last 4 decades is President Trump, who secured money for 450 million miles of the wall. Excuse me, 450. Excuse me, did it work? It's going to work. It's going to be built, the 450 miles, by the end of next year. We've just got the funding for this. What have you done?
Zero chance it's built by next year. Don't give yourself a deadline you're not going to meet. But he has put the money there. We hadn't had that kind of money put there before. Your problem, Kaylee, is it wasn't the right fix for the problem. I'm not against physical barriers. I certainly don't think they're immoral. I think it's about a priority. And it wasn't the brown menace. These people flooding through our gates right now, they are majority kids and families. It's not a fence as a fix away. It's not a fix away, that's a fence.
It's dangerous for the kids. Just last week, we had a 6-month-old child who was taken across the Rio Grande River by a 55-year-old man who was not her father. Why? Because we have the TVPRA, which incentivizes crossing with a child because you are allowed to stay in this country.
That is a rule change that should be addressed.
Of course it should.
No,
we must have a wall.
Kaylee,
do you care about the 70,000 Americans who die of drug overdose, much of which crosses our southern border? Where's your sympathy for them?
But it comes through the ports of entry.
No,
it's not fixed by a fence.
Outside of the ports of entry.
It's not fixed by a fence.
Let me address those things.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
so first of all, on the drug overdoses, it's largely OxyContin and heroin that's causing it. Those are the giant drug companies giving Donald Trump tons of money to pretend that it's Mexicans that are the problem when it's people in suits who pay off Republican Party one day after another, and they make billions of dollars off of OxyContin, and you know that. And Trump said he was going to stop it, and that was another lie. He didn't do that either, okay? And in terms of the kids coming from Guatemala, et cetera, do you think about those parents, how desperate they have to be to put those kids on that perilous track? And they do it anyway because the conditions are such deplorable situation. And part of the reason for that is our stupid drug war that created total chaos in those Latin American countries. And that's a complete and utter failure. That's also on you.
All right, so let's end it there right now. Here's all we know, okay? There are good fights to be had here, but there is one obvious problem that still isn't being addressed. And you know who knows this better than anyone? The people running CBP and DHS. And if people in Congress listen to them, they're going to do more than they're doing right now. Kaylee, Cenk, well argued, and thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
So, rot in hell.